This time on STV, I'm going to try and figure out this ice oval racing thing because I think there's more to it than going fast and going left. STV is brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. 509, fueling your passion. And by Polaris, think outside. It's been slightly over a week since I made the trade for the drifter with no name, and I'm as green as it is when it comes to oval racing. So to really understand what I'm getting myself into, I reached out to the OSOR, the Ontario Snowmobile Oval Racers. I connected with Steve Turk, better known as the Turk, who was gracious enough to invite us to his shop to chat about racing. And this is what I learned. All right, so Turk, this is the first chance we've had to really kind of look and learn about what the OSOR is. So walk me through what this racing organization is all about.
So the OSOR has been running for since about 2017 now, and it's a group of racing enthusiasts who want to get racers together with like-minded people, sponsors as well, with getting out there, and people that just want to have grassroots racing out there. So we're set up here in the province, and we have a schedule set up for 2024. And you can go onto the website and you can see all of our races for this year. We have 4 races scheduled for this year. It's a great group and it's a lot of fun to get out and get racing.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it being really a grassroots organization, which is, you know, some of the best racing that's out there, because you said it's a real family kind of atmosphere when you're a participant within the series.
Yeah, it is, and the nice thing about it is, I liken it to like being in a hockey environment, you know, playing for so many years and that, and getting out there, and people are helping you out, you know, if you're competitive racing with another group and you're out there and if something goes wrong with your sled, somebody's over helping you with yours and getting tips and tricks off of other people as well, so it's a lot of fun that way.
And that's always nice when you kind of have that feeling of community within a race community. It's like your weekend family, right?
Oh, for sure. A lot of it turns into like a potluck on places where we don't have venues with food set up like that. A lot of people bring crock pots and they go around trailer to trailer after, and it's great. Everybody hangs around after the races, and it's a community environment.
That's awesome. But I suppose, like a lot of other racing, it can be a slippery slope once you get into it, right? It's addictive.
It's addictive. You start out, and I know my first year I raced, I kind of just drove around the track, and then I decided that I wanted to get into it, and I wanted to, instead of driving around, I wanted to be a racer. So it's very addictive. As you learn to race, you can also better your sled and make it more competitive at the same time.
Yeah. So talk to me about how many years have you been racing?
I've been racing. This will be my 5th year racing this year. We're doing that. We had a year shut down with the pandemic, and I spent that year pretty much up at my French track in North Bay, test track in that whole year. And but yeah, it's about my 5th year now. So
talk to me about what you're riding, or racing, I should say, not just riding.
I rode it the first year because my first year I rode, I had the stock handlebars and the stock gas tank and everything, and the factory skis on it and the whole bit. So, but now I'm racing, and this is my Yamaha 440 SS. That I'm racing, so it's...
and what class would this be?
This is the 440 fan class that I race in, but I also race in the 440 free air, the 440 liquid, and I race in the super stock open with this as well.
Yeah, so it's sort of typical of this sort of class racing that you can make one class, but you can always race in a class above you, right? You can't go down, but you can go up.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, to get a sled that's of this caliber, it's taking you a few years, but to get into this racing, you don't have to start here, because I mean, I'm here to learn about what it's like to go ice oval racing. I'm definitely not starting here. We'll see my sled a little bit later. It's nothing like yours. But yeah, I mean, talk to me about how you can go out and just maybe have fun with a sled and be able to improve it over multiple races or even multiple years.
Yeah, great classes to start in is our 292s, our singles, and we also have our 340s as well, which is the class that you're going to be in. It doesn't take a lot to get into those in there. You're dealing with lower speeds, so a lot of the improvements and the handling upgrades and stuff like that, you don't need to make those at the start to get out and race. You can just get out there, get the feel of it, and see if you want to do it with that. So, because once you get out there, I'll guarantee you get hooked, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, talk to me a little bit about kind of, again, when it comes to racing and the racing community. We've talked about all the racers and how they help out one another, but talk to me about the OSOR and what kind of organization. I mean, that's a whole lot of work to do.
We have a huge group with the OSOR. We have our OSOR board that helps mandate and get the races together. We have our events areas that help promote our races, our sponsors. We also have the venues that we go to. We work hand in hand with them, with helping them to get set up and with help running the races in partnership with them. One of the biggest things we can't do with the OSOR is our volunteers. We have great volunteers with the OSOR, always looking for more people to help out into there. It's a long day when you're out there and you're not the one that's racing, but you're the one that's needed out there so that racing can go on.
Yeah.
You know, we have people from our staging people, we have people from that do our administration stuff, we have our flagmen out there, we have our corner flagmen out there. Those are important jobs, and without 4 corner flagmen and a flag person to start the races, and without the race marshals and the directors, we wouldn't be out there racing. So my biggest thing is thanking all of them for the work that they do and letting them know that we appreciate them as a racing family, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this racing that we love.
It's true. I mean, volunteers make the snowmobile world go round, no matter if you're on the trails or on the racetrack. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about your racing career and your sled, and I think it's time for me to introduce you to my new to me acquisition, the Drifter, who you've seen before, and I think you've already nicknamed the Grinch. So maybe we should bring that into the shop and we'll see what you think of that.
Excellent.
This segment is brought to you by Yamaha. All right, Turk, I'll remove the hood here and you can behold the glory of the 340.
Yeah.
Don't go falling in love with this thing now. So yeah, I know a few things that are obvious. There's no fuel tank. And
good
no
place to start.
Lube tank. The carburetor's probably too small. The steering is super loose, like really bad. I'm assuming that's going to be important for ice oval racing.
It helps.
I also know there's no taillight on this thing. It does have a slightly cut down race seat and racing handlebars, which I'm falling in love with. But yeah, from there, maybe let's start on some of the safety stuff I should be doing with this, and then we'll move to performance.
First of all, I want to say it's awesome. Welcome to the OSOR that you're coming out to race. It's great to have another racer out here. So. And it's great you have a sled and a platform to start with, but yeah, you've got a few things you need to get done on this. So
I kind of felt that way.
Yeah, for sure. Steering, yeah, you're definitely going to want to address that. Just from the safety aspect in here as well, though, these skis on the front, this steel on here, these are going to have to be covered over with foam, and they're going to have to be taped onto there, and they're going to have to meet a minimum height required of 8 inches.
8 inches
so I think,
off the ice?
Yeah, so I think you're good with the 8 inches, just that steel skis have to be covered over with foam into there with getting them done. So that's a big one. Your skis, definitely want to fix them.
Yes.
So with your setup with that, typically racing is you want to have them towed out about 1/8 of an inch from the front to the back. Measure 2 same places at the back. Anywhere, get a measurement from them. Measure 2 same places at the front, get a measurement from there.
Yeah.
And as long as you're 1/8 of an inch difference towed out,
yeah,
you'd be good set up to start for handling into there.
Yeah,
then you can adjust them into there. But everywhere you strengthen on your ski setup is going to weaken someplace else. So you want to check all your steering arms, your heim joints. You're going to want to check your springs onto here, your shocks as well with everything onto there. So just making sure it's tight, because you're going through from your center post onto there, because right now you've got a lot of play in here, and you're going to be going down the track like this. So it's going to make it hard for steering and for safety out in there. But
And then, so moving back, brakes. This is still the cable brake. Can't touch the handlebar like this one is touching the handlebar.
Yeah,
that is
so
not going to pass?
No, that's not going to pass. So set up into there, adjust it. You're probably going to need a new pad on this one here. You may also want to get a setup like I have on mine, where either you get a bent handle on there, or you can tap the end of this and put a piece of extruded aluminum onto there on the bottom.
Because you don't need a lot of brakes. I mean, this is 340. Am I going to use the brakes?
Chances are you're not going to use them too much into there. And if you are, it's braking for setting up at the line, or braking for if there's an incident on the track as well. But you just want to have something that while your hand's down on the machine, you can reach with your fingers and you can tap your brake if you have to.
Yeah.
Out there, so.
Now, moving back on the sled, maybe what we'll do, we'll just flip it up on its side. I've got studs in dirt. But there is a spec about how much the studs can protrude past the bottom of the track, right? Yeah, for sure. So what we have, same as the in our race specs, is we use these gauges into there. So this gauge not only checks for your carbides, it also checks for your stud lengths. So if you have this into here and you set that up into there, you can see that on these here, you're just touching the edge, so your studs are a little bit too long. And also this type of stud that you have on here, this isn't really an oval ice racing stud. This is more of a trail stud. These are more of an arrowhead shape, so they're going to dig into the ice and hold the ice. They're not going to be they're going to be actually holding it down instead of pushing it forward into there. So few things with that would get in there, but the gravel's a nice touch out there too. Yeah, it's nice. Well, that'll wear off eventually. I'm just glad that I have an idler wheel that spins around. I'm not sure if they all do that just yet. Nice. And then the back, the enclosure, I mean, we've seen it on your sled, so I'll have to work on that. And then these cables, that's just to make sure the snow flap, I was going to say doesn't come up, but it looks like it does. Yeah, so these here should probably be moved up to here, because the whole point of this, it's not really doing anything here right now. No. If you just put a hole up in here, so that keeps it from going backwards into there, it just keeps it there. It's supposed to be touching the ice when the machine slipped over. Yeah. But definitely you're going to need a tunnel enclosure built into here. And like I said, with the tunnel enclosure, if you can put like a 2-inch block between the back of the track and between the tunnel itself, you'll need to put a steel rod, a threaded rod down through there like on mine. Yeah, so I'm going to take some measurements off of yours. Yeah. So let's look at the skis here for a second. Sure. With the carbides that are on here. Yep. So they look very much like just a trail carbide that's probably has seen a few trail miles already. They have. So I can show you the difference of that carbide versus what we use. I'm racing against guys with that. You're racing against guys with this. So you're allowed a total of 10 inches of carbide. So you'd have to measure this, what is that, 3-4 inches? Yeah. And then you've got an inch, so you're a little bit shy in the mount. So you can see on here, you've got 10 full inches of carbide on here. You're gonna need a few spacers and shims and washers to tighten these bad boys up. I think. I'm just happy, like the shocks, almost feel like they're doing something. They are, they're quite impressive. Very impressive. Shocking, actually, some would say. Shocking, they would say. All right, so let's put this down on the ground. Sure. And let's look at the heart of the matter. I mean, when I look at this, it's just screaming race sled to me. It's all over it. It's got race sled written all over it with that, so. Moving from there, we've got what you've already described as a very puny carburetor on this thing. Yeah, you could stay with the stock size. It just looks awful small, this carburetor onto there, but it definitely needs to come off and get cleaned up. And there you got some bare wires sitting in there. The enrichment circuit is not looking good. No. The throttle does actually move though, so that's important. That's a good start. Anything with the exhaust, I mean, this is just a stock exhaust system that's been bubble gummed back together. Yeah. Maybe after a crash at one time. You have to run the stock exhaust in this class. I've got some gears already and springs for a clutch. Yep. That's going to be a tuning thing. Probably going to wait for that. I want to make sure it just is going to function before tuning. Once you get your cover off in here, you're going to want to look at your belt as well. Well, let's do that. Let's do that. So you're running Ultimax belts. I am. So this year I've been fortunate enough there. Ultimax has sponsored me this year, and belts by Timken, and I'm happy with them. I'm looking forward to running their belts this year on my sled. So that looks like it's probably a little, belt deflection is a little loose there, so yeah, we are going to assume I'm probably giving up some performance. You're probably not hitting your peak horsepower off your engagement with that belt there, just so how loose it's set up into there. So yeah, I'd check your belt. There's some burn marks on that there, and you're going to want to then also take your clutches off, clean them up, make sure they're working properly. Check the clutch weights on them, the shims, everything like that. And the same thing with your secondary. Cleaning this up and making sure your helix and everything is good on it at the same time. I'm dreaming of a Comet 102C, but I don't think that's in the cards for this year. That's a good choice.
That's a good choice with the Comet.
All right, so I desperately want you to ask me how this thing runs.
All right, Jeff, how does it run?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had it running yet. But maybe for just a moment or two here, to give me some hope that this thing is going to run, do you have a compression check that we can maybe do?
I do.
Oh.
I do.
Maybe it's got no compression.
We'll pull one plug, we'll throw that on.
All right.
There's some.
Holy cow!
And five.
We're like 125, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised by that.
Same here.
You've got a lot of compression in there.
Whew. I did not expect that. I was hoping for like anything above 90.
You want to check the other side?
I'm curious. Because you have seen this thing perform.
I remember seeing it on the trailer in Cochrane, but my recollection of it on the track is probably not as good as it should have been.
It's probably like, look at that slow thing going by there. I'm not going to pay attention to that. Okay. Little less, a solid 120 right now.
Solid 120. Hey, you got
But-
a good starting point there.
Yeah, we're in like within 10 pounds of one cylinder to another. And this thing hasn't run for a while, so maybe the rings could be a little dry. I'm kind of taking away that I might have a good base here, but I'm really at the start.
You are at the start, but you know what? And I'll be honest with you, this sled here started out like this sled here. I actually put that sled into a tree, trail riding with it, and then started over building a sled. So you can start from anything and come out and race with the OSOR. You don't have to have deep pockets to come out and race. You just got to get a few basic things and come out and have fun.
Well, that's the whole point of this. I want to go out and have fun. I want to be part of the racing community, even if it's just the one weekend. And I am absolutely stoked to be able to finally go around an ice oval track in competition, even if I'm waving goodbye to all the other competitors as they race away from me.
Coming up after the break, we head back to my shop to start a whole lot of work on the drifter.
This segment is brought to you by 509. Oval racing isn't the only kind of snowmobile racing there is, and that's because right now, as you're watching this, the CSRA season is literally taking off with some of the best snowcross action on the snow. In 2024, the CSRA is celebrating 30 years of snowcross racing with a 7-race schedule, and it's all happening this winter on the snow. Each weekend is an event for the entire family with multiple divisions that range from youth classes with riders starting as young as 4 years old to Pro-Am women and Pro-Am vets for riders over 30. Each of these classes provides the fans with excellent on-track racing that keeps the action flowing the entire day, which even includes a couple of classes for snow bikes and off-road UTVs as well for even more racing. The main events are the Pro Light and Pro classes that are at the top of the ladder when it comes to snowcross racing. Here, the competition between the riders is at its fiercest as they battle for position and wins on track. For the fans, the sights of high-flying sleds and the smell of race gas doesn't get any better. Even if you're not a hardcore snowcross fan, a day spent at the races is a decision you won't regret. The CSRA has created an event that delivers excitement both on and off the track, not only for racers of all ages, but for fans of all ages. Head to the CSRA Snowcross Racing's website for all the information and ways to find out how easy it is to begin your journey as a racer, or for dates and locations for this 30th anniversary season of events. Snowcross racing is another great community within the snowmobile world, and they're super welcoming to both the casual fans and super fans that follow the series. Now, if you've never been to a snowcross race, maybe this season is the season to change that. This segment is brought to you by Polaris. After speaking with the Turk, I'm super excited about the opportunity to go ice oval racing. His enthusiasm is infectious, and it sounds like the OSOR is the perfect place for a newbie racer to start. I mean, they've got a grassroots attitude, and it sounds like a great community. That said, Turk reminded me many times before we left his shop, because I think he was rather alarmed and said that I had to do something about this. So I think I'm gonna start with that after I secure the sled up there a bit better. The loose steering, the lack of a fuel tank, the seat that's held on with only a few snaps, and the safety concerns like no taillight or tunnel enclosure are just a few of the items on the list of things to fix. I may have to call in some reinforcements for this challenge, but that's grassroots racing. A to-do list on a piece of cardboard, a bit of a thrash before an event, but also knowing that there's help available from other competitors and crew if and when needed. Racing is obviously different than trail riding, but like the community of friends and family that develops around a riding group, the same thing happens around the track. The passion for snowmobiles is as strong in each group as the other, and I'm looking forward to meeting new friends. You know what? I think my toes are hanging over the edge of the ice oval racing rabbit hole, and I'm about to go down it. I've got a mountain of work ahead of me, one race on the schedule this season, and that's it. But you know what? I cannot wait for any of it. We'll see you next time on STV. This is definitely fixable. You got a welder. I got a lathe. This is doable.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Scott Snowmobile Goggles. STV has been brought to you by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Wherever life takes you, Best Western is there. Ultimax Belts. Performance driven, performance proven. And by Ford F-Series, Canada's best-selling line of pickup trucks for 58 years.